Hey guys, Chef Ro here. Today I'm going to show you how to poach an egg. Now you can see I brought this water to a boil, but this is too heavily boiling. If you let it boil this hard while the egg is in there, it is going to make the egg feather and the white's going to go everywhere, and we don't want that. So you want to bring it all the way to this, and then you want to bring it all the way down to poaching, because if you remember, poaching is at lower temperatures even than simmering, right? So we don't really want any bubbles breaking the surface. So you can see it's starting to come down here. There we go. This is perfect. Do you see how there's just little tiny bubbles on the bottom, but they're not actually breaking the surface very much? This is where you want your water to be. Now we're going to add a little bit of vinegar. Okay. Basically, if you were to taste the water, you want it to just have a hint of vinegar flavor. Okay. That's going to help set the egg white as it goes in. That way, we don't have the problem of what we call feathering, or where the white spreads everywhere. Okay, we're also going to add a little bit of salt, because we always wait until the water is hot before we add our salt. Okay, all right, so I now have salty, vinegary, just under a simmer water. Now, if you see, I've got a really wide, shallow pan here. That's because I like to do that. If you don't have anything like this, just if you have only a really deep pan, don't put all the water in there, because when you put the egg in there, it's got to go through all the water to get to the bottom, because the gravity is going to be your enemy here, and it's going to sink all the way to the bottom. And if it goes all through that much water, you're going to have a trail of white just leading all the way up to the top. So you want to just have barely enough to cover the water, or the egg, and then like another ½ inch. Okay, now I have my egg here already in a bowl. A lot of people tell you to like take this and make a tornado, and that's fine if you're only doing one egg, but in general I usually do far more than one egg at a time, even if I'm only feeding 2 of us. So I don't bother with the tornado, because then it's going to actually cause problems with the other eggs that are in the pan. So if you keep it down to a simmer, you're okay. Okay, now if you see, I'm going to get this egg all the way into the water before I let it go. Okay, once I let it go, once that's in the water, then I let it go. Okay, metal is not the ideal bowl for this, but it's the only one I had clean. Okay, then I'm going to crack my next egg, same thing. And you can see it's staying together with very minimal feathering. Now, it would not spread even as much as it did. For example, that one spread quite a bit, because these eggs are a bit on the older side. And remember, the way that you can test that is to put them in a glass of water, and if the butt end, so basically, right, there's the skinny end and the butt end. If the butt end floats up because the air pocket is down here, that means that egg is kind of old, and fresh eggs poach better. Now, if you've got kind of an old egg and you don't know what to do with it, then you can boil it, because a lot of people always ask me, how do I get the shell off a hard-boiled egg easier? And, you know, there is the trick of the baking soda in the boiling water, and that does work to a certain extent. But the reality is, if you just use an old egg, the air pocket has formed so large in that egg that it's going to create a layer of air between the shell and the egg, and it'll peel much easier. Okay, so now I'm going to let these set here for a few minutes while they cook, and I'll come back and show you when they're done. Okay, all of my eggs are already done. This water was nice and hot. The salt really increased that water temperature, so it's even hotter than it would be if it didn't have the salt in it. So the egg already cooked. It's only been about 2 minutes, and what you're going to do, and the way you know, is if you lift it up, you can see the white is all the way cooked, but if you push on this, it still has a lot of give. The key of a good poached egg is that it's still a little bit runny. Okay, then you just dap it on a paper towel and right onto the plate, or wherever else you are trying to put it, on a muffin, whatever, for Eggs Benedict. Yes, please. See, same thing here. A little bit of give. Okay. This one's good here. And notice the eggs stayed together. It may not be the prettiest, so some people would take a knife and cut off this little bit of feathering out there. Another way that people do it is they take the egg and put it through a strainer, a very, very fine mesh strainer first, because that'll get rid of the old egg white that has thinned out, and that will also help a little bit, but you don't have to do that. The reality of it is these eggs look just fine. They'll work beautifully for any dish, and I didn't use any special tools other than a spider, or you could just use a slotted spoon, a pan, some vinegar, and some salt.